in my lifetime, I've met a number of very inspiring people. And I thought it'd be a good idea to have a chat with some of them. And I'm just so pleased that my first guest is someone who I had a good friendship with a number of years ago. And he was one of my heroes. And I felt really privileged to have him in my life. And I still do. And I just want to welcome former World Cruiserweight Champion, Glenn McCrory. How you doing, Glenn?
Doing very good, Michael. How are you doing?
I'm absolutely great, Glenn, and it's just great to see you looking fit and healthy.
Yeah. Likewise. It's. I know we saw each other a couple of times recently, but then it was a long time ago that our paths didn't cross. From being very good friends, and so it's nice to make the acquaintance, and during these tough times especially.
Absolutely. Now, we've got a few things in common. You know, I'm just a little bit older than you. We're both from the north.
You said that.
You think I'm 10 years older than you. I know. I can tell by the look in your face.
I actually, when I was thinking about it, I was thinking you must be younger than me, but no, you look healthy. You look so well.
Oh, that's really nice of you, Glenn. I had a TV series on Tyne Tees around about the time when you were world champion, and you know, it was absolutely amazing. And I was living in London, but working back in the Northeast. So I was like, I had a friend of mine, Paul Cuskin, obviously Crammy, great athletes around who I used to keep tabs on living in London. And I was just so proud of you and proud that this guy from the Northeast had won this world title in the most amazing circumstances when you did. But also with a name like McCrory and me with a name like McNally, there's obviously something in common there too. And, and then I found out that, your granddad is from County Tyrone?
Oh, yes. County Tyrone, yeah.
And that's where my family's from as well.
Really?
Yeah, Cookstown and Pomeroy. I think Omagh for you.
Yeah. Well, they're all over, McCrory's are all over Tyrone. It's, we're a big family, and obviously became a bigger family when my granddad's family moved over to Consett and moved for the steelworks. And I think my granddad must have come when he was very young, and his parents brought him over. And there was 8 of them. One of them had 15 kids, I think. My great uncle Herbert had 15 children. So the McCrorys are there's quite a lot over here now. So it was come from and McCrory comes from the ancient king of Ireland, I believe, McCready. I think that was the Irish name. So it's I'm very, 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 very proud. And probably like yourself, Michael, I'm very, very proud of my Irish roots. Consider myself very much an Irish sort of Geordie. But growing up, I went to St. Patrick's School. Our football team wore green and white. My hero was George Best. It was none. It was a St. Patrick's in Dippen was nuns and a convent school. It was run by the nuns, and Father Noel Phelan from the south of Ireland was brought us up. He was in the house. He was part of the family. So it was a very Irish upbringing, but it was also marred with troubles. And it wasn't a time where you shouted out anything about having any connection with Ireland, obviously, because there was so much unsettling. There were so many unsettling things going on there. It wasn't. You didn't shout about Irish heritage back in the 70s and 80s. It wasn't the done thing. And if anything, you kind of my dad and everybody kind of hid from that sort of thing, because it was it was tough.
I'm from Jarrow and Consett, very similar towns where there was an influx of Irish people, people looking for work, basically, who came over to England.
Gerards, the Mines. You know, my mum's family, they come from the south. They're Morrisons. My mum's family's the Morrisons. So it's both sides. A big, petty through and through. And but it was going to the pitches. Remember going to the Metro Centre. When we were young, when it first opened, and the pitches would be stopped because there's a bomb scare, and then if you had a name like McNally and McCrory, people are looking at you, with a bit of it just felt, a bit of disdain of like, this is your lot's fault. So it wasn't, so I missed out on an awful lot. And obviously we didn't have, we were very, 7 kids and a low income, and that my dad had. So, we didn't have, we never traveled. We never got back to see, to see family over there. Never, we were very much in Northwest Durham. That was very much where the McCrorys were, concert, Anfield Plain, Stanley, and that's where we were. And that's where so many of the Irish were, because the steelworks, there's a massive Irish community in the northeast of England, exactly as you said, because it's a very working class area. And, the Irish, if anything, we built the world, didn't we?
Absolutely.
Some of the biggest places, New York and that, are all down, Boston, some of the great cities are all down to the hard work and Irishmen.
On that note, was there any boxing already in the family?
Yes, very, very much so. My uncle James, Jim McCrory, used to box under the name of, he's my great uncle, my granddad's brother. My granddad had I don't think my granddad fancied the hard work of the steel company, so he went in the army. My granddad went in the army and became a sort of 15, 20 years in the army. He started boxing out there, became the combined services champion as a welterweight, my granddad, and then sent some boxing gloves back from India to his younger brother, who enthusiastically started to become very, very good at boxing, and then became a professional and was looked after by the Newcastle family, from Newcastle, the Shepherds.
Oh, the Shepherds, yes.
The Shepherds. He was managed by the Shepherds. He boxed at St James's Hall, which was a great, had a great history of great boxing venue back in the day. And he beat them. He drew with Spider Kelly. Spider Kelly as a Derry fighter, and he was an excellent fighter. My great uncle got a draw with him. Had something like 116 fights, and I think lost about 12 or something. So
wow.
It was very, very good. The closest he got was for a title was a draw with an excellent European Commonwealth Spider Kelly. So it was in the family, and that was, so there was two things. If you have the background that we have, there's two sports: there's boxing and there's football. You're unaware of the divide and the problems that's going on over there. And George Best was my hero. He wore the green shirt and his socks rolled down, and he was good looking, and he was a character. And so I became very attracted to sport and characters so early in my career. And it was down, I'm probably getting a little bit of the flamboyance of my life from George Best. I'll not tell Callum that, but and the hard work and boxing side from my family.
Brilliant. That's what was it like growing up in Anfield Plain? Big family.
It was the family side of it was wonderful, because I was blessed with an absolutely beautiful mom and dad, just wonderful parents, and so the family was wonderful. We didn't have a lot, but you know, you don't need a lot if you've got love in the family. And so it was a beautiful childhood, which I wish never ended. Set amongst a very hard. It seems as if a lot of my childhood was in black and white, because as soon as you open the door, you know, you're in your cramped terraced house, which was, you know, to give you an idea, there was 5 boys in a room, and there was 3 in the bed, and I was one of the 3 in the bed. Bearing in mind how Gary and Sean both became professional fighters, you know, you had to be able to fight. You had to be able to fight in our house just to get the shallow end. So it was, it's certainly in my bed, yeah. So yeah, it was great, but it was a very dark environment, because obviously it was the, you know, the coal, you know, the slag heaps at Morrison Busty, the constant gushing of the red smoke that would come out of Content Iron Works. So it was a very industrial, a very dark, a very gloomy upbringing, because it seemed like there was no future apart from that real graft and that real hard work that, you know, my uncles were all, my mum's brothers and her dad were all miners. You know, so I thought my family were mixed race, because all my uncles were black. You know, they all come in dirty. So every time I saw them, they were just pitch black faces. So it was, you know, and that disturbed me a little bit, because, you know, that's what it seemed life was going to be. So I kind of escaped in my dreams, and I remember sitting watching TV, and a guy came on, and he was a black, and he was a boxer, and he was beautiful. You know, he was really good looking, and he was articulate, and he was funny, and he was just amazing. And he was a bigger character than George Best, and his name was Muhammad Ali.
I've got
it.
I've got him on. Yep, we share a hero in common. Yeah,
and that was it. From then, from football, and I was a good footballer. From football, my life just turned. This was my escape. My escape was Muhammad Ali, and that transformed my life. And Ali, you know, I got the, you know, I had the grace of God to meet him, and he asked to meet me. He wanted to meet me when I boxed in front of him, when I was 19 years of age, and it was just such a blessing to have that honor, to meet your hero, and your hero to exceed all your expectations as such a warm, wonderful man, and, you know, rightly called the greatest.
And he did predict you would be a world champion one day.
Be a world champion, he did, and
he was right.
He was right, and you know, that got me through some dark times, you know, in my personal life, and sort of getting into boxing. It was very, very tough. I went through a real tough period, and I lost 5 out of 6 fights, and I was very badly handled, and there was lots going on in my personal life. And I was a kid, and I couldn't handle any of it, and I just went through a period where, you know, I couldn't, you know, I just got beaten, and it was only the faith in Ali, and the faith that he said I'd be world champion, that kept me going. That made me think, you know, if Ali didn't get things wrong, you know, he saw something in me, and I knew there was a reason. And it was, you know, my career was a mess. I still managed to win a world title, but it was a mess. So it was a case of, right, what's wrong? How do we regroup? Not for the first time have I had to sort of sit inside my own head and find out what's wrong, and try and reinvent myself, and try and come back again. And I did then, and it was largely down to Muhammad Ali.
When we talk about, you know, losing this number of fights, you know, 6, 7 fights, and losing like most of them, and at that point you're like a journeyman fighter.
5 out of 6.
5 out of 6. 5 out of 6. Yeah, sorry, I'm not exaggerating. Sorry about that, Glenn. But still, at that time, it's really tough. I mean, I haven't got to know you. There's a very spiritual side to you, Glenn, and I believe that this is, you know, what drives us on to successes in life. And I remember a lot of things you told me a number of years ago, and they've spurred me on to do things with my running. And you got your faith, yeah. Absolutely. Your spirit and yet that mindset, you know, knowing, believing that you can do stuff, and that, you know, that we're fallible, aren't we? We all are. We don't always get what we want, but that belief that you could achieve, you know, to have gone from losing those 5 out of 6 fights and then becoming a world champion, and you were mismanaged. You never had proper management ever in your career, did you?
Oh, never had a proper.
So against all the odds,
professional trainer, never, you know, for the all my success, didn't have a proper gym, just had a room above a fruit shop in Catchgate. You know, but I did have a great faith and a great belief in that it didn't take that. You know, if God, you know, if you want it enough, if you believe in yourself enough, God will give you it. God will give you it. You know, often, you know, He's given me stuff I didn't really need, but you know, He will give you it. So my faith has been tested on like so many on many occasions, but it's got me through so much.
So off you went to America to spar with Mike Tyson. He's at his peak. This young man, he's shocking the world, knocking everybody out, and you, guy who's lost a number of fights, you know, just takes the opportunity to go out there and become what looked like on the surface just another guy who's going to be fodder. What happened?
It's one of the things. It's one of the things, Michael. That is, excuse me. It's one of the things in my life that I never want to be afraid. I never want to be scared of anything. I never want to, you know, I want to face my fears. And losing 5 or 6 fights was difficult. And then I come back. I found the answer, you know, in myself. And then I won the Commonwealth Championship. And then I got an opportunity. And bear in mind, I was stopped in a couple of fights as well. You know, a couple of, you know, I went very. They were trying to make me a big heavyweight, which I wasn't. And you know, at times I was getting fights with 3 days' notice against ex-British champions, and I got stopped, and it was very difficult, and it really hurt your confidence and hurt your belief. But I fought my way back at cruiserweight to win the Commonwealth title against a world-class opponent, Chisanda Moody in Gateshead. And then I got a phone call out of the blue of James Quick Tillis, who I'd been to America and sparred with, and as you said, I haven't had proper trainers. I haven't had a professional trainer. I haven't had a professional manager. But I worked out there, and I learned to learn off people. You know, if you're gonna gain any experience, you know, watch, learn, listen. And I was getting badly handled and didn't have any money, and said, do you want some? Obviously, I needed some work. I was a Commonwealth champion who was still on the dole. You know, I was still, you know, I'd get paid paltry amount. And then it lasts for a week or two, and then I'd be back on the dole, and that's how most of my career was up to win the world title. And he said, "Do you want to come spar with Mike Tyson? It's not going to be a great amount of money because, if I'm honest, they don't think you're going to last 5 minutes, but you know, it's a trip. They're going to pay your hotel, they're going to pay your food, they're going to pay your flight." And I said, "Yeah. Definitely." And he was knocking everybody out left, right, and center. He was the meanest man on the planet. He was only 21 years of age. At 20, he was the youngest world champion of all time. And I went out there, and I remember getting onto the ring apron, and the guy in the corner said, you know, "Get in." And I'm like, yeah. And he said, "Go on, get in the ring." And as I got through the ropes, I turned around and I said, "You know what? I'll never be scared of anything in my life after this." Nothing was, because it was so fearful. And then we did, and I was there 5 weeks, right up till the world title fight. Became chief sparring partner for his next fight. And it did exactly what it was meant to do, to give me confidence, to give me self-belief back. You know, Ali told me I was good enough. And Ali told me I could be up there with those names. And that gave me a glimpse that I could, and it was a great experience because I was in the company of greatness. You know, I was in the company of greatness. Now you're you're a musician, an actor, and you understand, when you if it's Sting, or if you are around people, there's there's an aura about greatness, and not there's very few have that thing, and he was certainly on course to be one of the greatest of all time. And his career got derailed quite spectacularly. Again, we're all human and we've all got weaknesses, and he couldn't handle relationships. I struggled with relationships, and sometimes you haven't had the experience in life to carry you through different things, and it was great to see his rise to stardom. It was awful to see his demise, but it's good to see him back in a good place again. And he seems content with himself, and that's great. I've got a real fondness for Mike Tyson. Inside he's done wrong at whatever level, but mine's not to judge. Mine's just there's a decent guy in there as well.
Fascinating what you're saying about Tyson, because I know Tyson respects you greatly, and that what you just said there struck a chord with me. Not everyone's fallible, everybody has weaknesses, but there's a decent guy in there with Tyson, which I think is a fantastic way to describe him. And I've found that with people. I worked in a prison for a number of years, and I looked for the good inside. I didn't look at the crime. I looked at the person, because the crime doesn't define the individual, although there can be really unpleasant things that people have done. And I met a lot of wonderful people, both officers and prisoners inside a prison. And because I have the same instinct as yourself, which is to look for the good, and I think if you do that now, I'm going to turn this into your family now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about David, your brother, because you made a little film about this a number of years ago. And while I was teaching in prison, I used to use this film to inspire serving offenders. And it was a little short film about your brother, right? And it's now been turned into a play. And I think it would make the most wonderful movie, because although the Rocky films are fine, this is a proper story. This is a real story. I loved I love Raging Bull. It's one of my favorite ever movies, with De Niro. But I just think this could be an extraordinary movie, and it's a great tale. Just tell us a little bit about your brother.
Well, my brother is my brother David. My mom had 6 children, all fit, healthy, and then being the mom she was, my mom just wanted to care for people, and with very, we were, there was a working class, low income, trying to look after 6 kids. It was tough, and I don't know quite what possessed her, but she wanted another one. She felt she could still look after. She could still look after more. There's still more she could help, and that's my mom and dad, and so we fostered just when we're all toddlers. My mom took another little boy who was he was a little odd looking, he was cute, but it turned out he had a disability, but which we didn't know. My mom didn't know about, and she took him. She fostered David, and then adopted him. And you can, it seems like, oh, that's all lovely and nice, but it wasn't. It wasn't. If you're in the middle of a group of 6, and your eldest brother is the apple of your dad's eye, and your eldest sister is really close to your mom, and then there's you, and then your next brother down's got a hearing problem, and he's just a cute little boy with a hearing problem. He needs extra attention. And then my mom had twins. It seemed like I was struggling to get noticed. It seems like I didn't have anything special about me. And I think that, that was a reason for, putting my hand up, like, hello, I'm here, trying to sing, trying to dance, trying to do something that would get me noticed. And then along came someone else and David got my bed, and you know that was very difficult as a child, and you know we didn't, you know, probably too young to speak of to our parents, but you know we took the David on the surface, but deep down there was animosity, dislike, and all those sort of things as a kid when somebody's got your toys and somebody's got your bed and somebody's got your mom and somebody's got your dad, and then you know, there's only a year between us. It was his birthday yesterday, and I was closest to him, so we went to school. My eldest brother's 4 years older, my sister 3 years, so it was me taking him to school. We were in the same junior school, so I had to take him, and he started to get slow. And you know, it was Andrew playing to Dipton. It's a few miles. We had to quite a walk before we got the bus, and then a walk after that, and he was getting slower. So I was like, get on my back. And it wasn't out of kindness. it was out of the fact that it was me that was going to get wrong off the nuns. It was me that was going to get the cane. You know, if we were late, it was me that was going to get wrong, not him, poor David. So it was like, get on my back. And you know, and then all of a sudden I became important to somebody, it seemed. Obviously my parents loved me, but you know, there's so many of us running around. And I became important to somebody. I became important to David. I became not just his mode of transport, you know, I became his, you know, we became our closest brothers. And that was the beginning of a love affair, you know, where we went everywhere together, and he was on my back, and my mom would be saying, get him off your back, you know, he's too heavy. And I'd be like, no, you know, my brother. So, and then, you know, I started to find boxing, and he loved it, and we bought a little cine projector, and because we're close at age, we'd be sitting under the blankets with this little cine projector watching Ali Frazier and Ali Foreman and all these fights flickering on our Alleglypta wallpaper, and it was magical. And now I started to get better at boxing, and he'd come along to the gym with me, and then his movement started to get more clumsy, started to fall down more, and you'd start to say, come on, David, you know, stand up. He'd fall down the stairs and hurt himself, and he'd stop being so clumsy. And then we found out, you know, really just about the age of sort of, I was just starting to win things. I just started to become, I won my first national title at 15, 16, and we got word quite shockingly that the doctor, when my mom went for checkout, is David still alive? My mom was there, and it was, you know, he had a terminal illness that the doctors thought he wouldn't be at 14, 15. And then it became really, really hard, because the brother's dying, and he's dying every day. And that went on, you know, for the next 20 years. That went on for the next 20 years of David getting, you know, worse and worse and worse, and it getting harder and harder, and I'd get more success. And you know, it was very hard, and you know, it's been very hard to come to terms with. I don't think I'll still come to terms with the loss of David, with the emotions that you had during his lifetime, with the emotions that you've had since he's been gone. But the one great thing was his dream, and my dream was to be champion of the world. And you know, and he got there. You know, we both got there, and David wasn't meant to be there. I got the chance to fight for the world title, the first ever world championship in the northeast of England at Stanley. You know, it just, when God put things together, he does it well. He makes it, you know, when he gives you your wishes, you know, he makes sure you get them right. And I got my lifetime ambition in Stanley, and my mom wouldn't go. She was too nervous. So David couldn't go because she looked after David. So the whole family went, and it was just a marvelous occasion. And you know, obviously I had a fight to get on with, and I had a fight to win for not just for me, but for him, for the whole of the Northeast. And then quite mysteriously, a car pulled up. My mum decided to take a walk. She was in Anfield playing in our house, and she decided it was the sunny June 3rd, sunny night. So she thought, I'm going to go for a walk with David. So they went off and she said, well, I'll go along Delia. I'll go along her sister's on the way to the Stanley, to the leisure centre. I know where the key is. Nobody knew this. So she went in the house, wouldn't put the TV in, wouldn't put the radio on. David was, obviously that was his dream as well. So he was, and then there was a siren came, knock on the doors, the police. My mum feared the worst. She feared something. There was a tragedy with her son. Police said, no, just get your coat, get the wheelchair, let's go. And they took David and my mum to the Louisa Leisure Centre, got the doors open, got in, got ringside, just at a pivotal point when I was just feeling, I'd had a great start, and then he was starting to get on top. He was starting to hurt me, perforating my eardrum, and I was hanging on at one point. And I just looked over the ropes, and there was my brother, and he's going, kicking, thrusting his fist. And it was like magical. It was the cue. It was right on cue. Here was the next thing I needed to take me to the next level and take me to the championship of the world. And it was a magical night. I managed to make my speech in the ring and sign off the dole finally.
God, I know.
After the fight, we got to thank Stanley Dole office, which is probably the only time in boxing history that anybody's come off the dole winning a world title. And that was the bad things about my career, of how badly the treatment was of me. But we won a world, we won the world title, and it was just a magical night. The next morning, from the greatest night of your life to the next morning, the worst morning of your life. The worst morning of your life. And people say, what? And the worst morning in my life because I had nothing else to conquer. All my life I've been told you'll never win a world title. Get a job. All my life, all my career, off everybody. Even my dad not wanting to hurt my feelings, not wanting to let me aim too high and be disappointed. Said aim for British, So all of a sudden, I've done it, and that was an amazing feeling. You're top of the world. So what's next? There's nothing else. What's next? I never dreamt of defending it. I never dreamt of unifying it. I never dreamt of moving up in weight. I never dreamt of any of that. All I dreamt about was winning the world title. And at 24 years of age, I've done it.
It's an incredible story. And I think, that night, you're fighting a real badass, really. The guy was so highly rated.
The gentleman, he was the killer.
Yeah. And you'd nearly took him out in the first round.
It's a funny story because all through the training camp, I kind of thought I've got a great chance. I've got a great chance. I believed in myself. And then on the morning of the fight, I picked the Sun newspaper up, and Colin Hart, the prestigious newspaper, the top man from the Sun, top boxing writer, his headline was Glenn Zagona. And then the realization came, the politics of boxing was I was just there to make the numbers up. Para Lumumba had Don King backing him, was based in Las Vegas, and they just, but had, was a Kenyan based out of Sweden before that, top world amateur champion and all that, didn't draw flies, couldn't, had no fan base, had nothing like that. So go to England, great crowd, great money, great, TV, live TV on ITV, get the title, and let's go back to Vegas and carry on. The only thing they hadn't realized that was how hungry I was, and what a crowd. It was like St. James's Park got it somehow squeezed in. I swear to God, and if anybody that was there will tell you, it was like St. James's Park squeezed in to the Louisa Leisure Centre. I don't know how they made them numbers work, but they made the same noise. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. If you ask anybody there, you know, one of the greatest compliments you can have in life is people saying, that was the greatest night of my life. And I've had that on numerous occasions where people have said, greatest night of my life, greatest night of my life.
Well, forevermore, it's forevermore, Glenn, it's going to be one of the greatest sporting moments the Northeast has ever had. You know, forever. That's how good it is. It's right up there. And that's.
You know what? You know what? The story is not over yet. I'm sitting here with grey hair and a beard, died obviously, but the story is not over because it seems like the gloves are coming back out of the locker. I'm dusting off the old boots, and not just in a charity sparring session or anything like that. With God's will, I'm going to be facing probably one of the greatest fighters ever in history at 56 years of age. That's me. Not him. Roy Jones Jr. Sounds mad, but Roy Jones Jr. called me out at just on Christmas Eve. And what a Christmas present that was.
After he just had a fight with Mike Tyson.
Just had a fight with Mike Tyson. And then the next person, well, now what did I do to Roy Jones? You know, he couldn't beat Mike Tyson. Now he wants to beat up on me. So I've accepted that, and we're people are working very hard behind the scenes to try and make that happen. It's come at a really good time because, like everybody else, you know, I've really struggled in lockdown. You know, I've had mental health problems for a long time. You know, trying to deal with the death of David. You know, with my brother's son Greg, who, you know, lost his life with cancer at 16, and you know, there's lots of things in my life. There was lots of personal problems and hang-ups, and you know, you lose the world title or you get the world title taken off you, and your manager leaves you with the money, and you never see him again. You're 25 years of age, and you've had everything taken away from you, and then to make matters worse, you get a tax bill for the money that you should have earned, and you've got to fight Lennox Lewis to try and pay that bill. So to add insult to injury, you know, you get that. So I hated the business of boxing when I finished. I was only in my 20s. I never even got to my prime, my physical prime. I was finished and despondent, and really disliked boxing. Again, you know, I got a knee up, and I got a career in broadcasting with Sky TV, and had 27 marvelous years there, covering the greatest of fights. You know, but this getting this Roy Jones fight is kind of come full circle in a way. You know, I'm going to be back training in Catchgate. You know, I'm back living back home in near Stanley, and it's all coming. It's all coming full circle. And you know, it's kind of locked down in a way. You kind of got to try and come to terms with somehow. It's kind of worked as a bit of therapy for me, and a bit of rehab, to try and get my demons, try and settle my demons. And you know, I know you've been there. You've been there as well. You know, you've had your, like so many people in life. You know, it's everybody suffers. Every single person suffers with mental health. Every single person suffers with physical health. You know, so there's times in our lives where we've done that. I've had a really bad time. I've always managed to cope with it, and then all of a sudden, lockdown just pushed me over the edge, and I didn't want to live anymore, and I thought my life was over, and God's come to rescue again with inspiring me and giving me, and as God will to everybody, you know, to every single person, he will, you know, whether you call him God, or whether you call him Allah, or whether you call whatever you call him, you know, the Almighty will when you're your worst need. And I know, trust me, I know he'll not leave you. He'll not leave you.
I think we share something in common here, Glenn. That, you know, that I've always felt lucky in my life. I've always felt blessed, in spite of some of my dark moments and the tough things I've had to deal with. And that's always given me a deep down spiritually a belief that there's someone looking after me. And I know that's why I think we have something really spiritually close. I mean, and I've always felt that in you. I've identified that in you. But you also, you know, you said something to me a number of years ago, which I want to remind you of. He said you could go on any street and find a kid who wants to box. As long as he's got the right attitude, you'll make him a world champion, right? And I thought, how can that be the case? And I was questioning it in my mind. But, you know, I've actually started to believe this is true, that it doesn't matter. It's not about having the greatest ability in the world in whatever field you're in. It's to do with your mindset and the need, the desire, the self-belief to achieve something. And if you get steered by the right people, you can achieve. And I thought it was like it's taken me a number of years to sort of come to grips with that. Am I describing that in the right way?
Yes, very much so, very much so. And just when people will automatically say, "Oh no, but you're an athlete, you know, you were a boxer, you know, you were suited to it," and I'll say, "Well, was I suited to the West End? Yet I played the lead in the West End. Was I suited to climbing mountains with no training whatsoever? No. So in this, was I trained to be a commentator? You know, and I did 27. No. The fact is that if you put your mind to it, like we control us. We control us. So if you put your mind to it, if you want it bad enough, if you want to learn another language, it's easy. You know, yes, it'll be hard. If you want to get in a car and drive a car, it's tough. You know, it seems like you'll never learn it when you first sit in it. But then, you know, now you get in the car, you drive somewhere, and you think, "Well, am I here?" You've done it in your subconscious.
Yeah.
And the same with another language. Same with anything in life. When you see, you know, I've got a friend, Rick Clement, who's been helping me, who's been my therapy. And what's amazing is Rick's got no legs. Rick was blown up in Afghanistan, you know, leading his regiment out, you know, on maneuvers out there, and you know, he stood on a bomb and blew his legs off. And this guy, you know, is amazing. Is absolutely amazing. And you know, he walks. He's got prosthetic legs when he wants to put them on. He's got, you know, he can drive a car. He can do anything. You know, he can do anything. And as you go through life, you'll find so many inspirations like that, where you've got to, you know, where you think, you know, you can do anything if you want. You know, there's so many wonderful people, you know, but the main thing is you've got to do it. You've got to want to do it and do it. And you know, I think you can achieve anything. You know, the only person that holds us back is us. So
tell me about Roy Jones Jr., right? Come on, because this is I mean, people will go, I know there'll be people out there going, why would you want at 56 to get in the ring with someone who only stopped boxing recently, really, relatively? You stopped all those years ago. I've
only been out 28 years. Only 28. Lifetime. It's only 28 years.
Glenn, I did a white collar thing when I was 53, and I had to get fit for it. And I got in the ring, and I got in there, and I did it. You know, I went and did a bit of training at Davy Bones' gym as well. But getting fit for it. Go on.
That's not your sport.
No.
That's not your. Yeah, you did it, and yet you did it. You did something outside your comfort zone, but you still did it. And,
absolutely.
You know, me climbing a mountain that was completely outside my comfort zone. That was harrowing. You know, that was beyond tough, but I did it. Going on the West End stage, I did not honestly know, because I can't remember a shopping list. And then when you're the lead, and you start off in the birds, and you've got the whole play, and I did not know till I started, when I was lying on stage and the curtain come up, if I'd remember any of it. But you do. You do. So and I believe in testing yourself. Life's, we're here just once. There's no second act or anything like that. We're here just once. So it's a case of, also I feel I live for two. I've got David who didn't fought for life so desperately, fought to live on, and he was written off at 14 by the doctors. He lived to 29. He lived till he was 29, and that was an unbelievable fight that far exceeded anything that I'd done in my life. The fact that he could hang in that long. So I feel that I live for two as well. Sometimes that's not a good thing, I'll be honest. But I try and get the most out of my life and live it to the fullest I can. And I've had some wonderful times. I've had some bleak and dark and terrible times, but I've lived, and that's for me, that's, some people want to live, nice and steady. Some people like to get the most out of it. If you get the most out of it, you'll have some low points, because I think life is about fairness. So you'll get if you go for the highs, you'll get the lows as well. That will match. If you go for the steady, you'll get the steady, and God's fair in all he does.
Well, you've had an extraordinary life, Glenn, and you've had as high as you can go, and the lows. You only appreciate the highs, the good times, when you do have the lows, and the fact that you won the world title. That story, to win the world title when you did, and your background and what you'd gone through to get there without the correct support, was just absolutely remarkable. And I see you as very much a mentor figure and someone who inspires others. And I think, the battles that you've gone through make you stronger. Everything that you've gone through has made you, all the tough times that you've had, have just rounded you into a more mature, stronger human being. And, it's tough when things aren't going well. It is tough, and when we do feel very lonely at times. But, I honestly, I think about you in such a lovely, warm, charismatic way. And I don't want you ever to let anything get in the way of that, because I'm telling you, it's there. It's so evident. And every time I hear you speak, and when I look at your face, that's what I see. And it's just inspiring to listen to you, mate. And I wish you the very best. Obviously, part of me says you crack us for getting in the ring with this pound for pound, one of the greatest fighters of all time. But you know what it is? I'll put a bet on you. I'll put a bet on you, because I bet I get really good odds. And you know what it is? I watched you sparring with Tyson, and I've seen stuff in there. That was...
If you put a bet on now, you'll get very good odds that I even make it into the ring, because the reality is this is probably the biggest test of my life, bar none. Coming back from, and I haven't done boxing training because I was so disgusted with my treatment. I've never hit a bag or anything for 28 years, and I don't take it flippantly. Boxing is a dangerous sport, and I guarantee, they call it an exhibition because, I think they have to, because of our ages and stuff like that. But, we saw in the Tyson Jones fight, Tyson was trying to take Jones' head off, and, they both got themselves into good condition, and it was good to see. It was good to see at their age that they could still compete, and a lot of younger men would Tyson, or Jones would have done that. So I know what to expect. It'll be an absolute thrill to be. I'm the same. I'm a boxing fan as well. To share the ring with one of the all-time greats will be phenomenal. I just, I want to get it. I want to see it, the deal done and over the line. But it's great training for it. It's my son Joe, who didn't get to see me fight. He was, and this is how long I've been out. he wasn't born when I won the world title, and and now he's training me to fight Roy Jones Jr. 35 years later, or 30 years later, 30 years. So and he's doing great, and so it's great for me. It's great for me, and it's great to see you again.
It's great to see you, Glenn, and I wish you the very best of luck. And I know that you do everything well. Everything you do brilliantly. So you will be brilliant, and just keep inspiring people. Go in there and I want you to go in that ring. I want you to go in that ring, and I want to see you just shut up all of the ignorant people who don't really think too deeply about things and who have huge opinions but sit in their armchairs and never actually do anything. And I would love to see you go in there and just absolutely surprise everyone. And I believe you can do that.
One thing I will do, Michael, is, he's a great, great fighter, great skills. And it's been a very, very long time. The one thing I will do is give it. I will not come out of that ring unless I have given my absolutely utmost. No stone unturned. No stone will be unturned. We will be the best 56-year-old Glenn McCrory we can possibly be.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I'm just listening to that and I'm thinking, Fury's dad will be after you.
Fury's dad could have had me back then. He didn't want me.
Right. Well, there you go. He was wise. Listen, Glenn.
See, Tyson's a great inspiration as me, because he's been through some tough times, and he's a friend of mine. John's a friend of mine. They're good. They're good people. They're rough people, but they're good people. And Tyson's a legend. So one thing I'm going to surprise you with is I'm gonna spar with Tyson Fury as well, because I sparred with the heavyweight champion of the world 35 years ago. 35 years later, I'm going to spar with Tyson, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
That's amazing. That is an amazing thing. Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. Well, brilliant. He's 6'9", Glenn. You're tall, but he's...
I'm going to batter his belly button.
Well, I could reach your knees.
He's a monster. Let's hope he doesn't hear any of that.
I know. Listen, it's absolutely brilliant to talk to you, Glenn. I wish you the very best of luck. It's so lovely to see you after all this time. And, good luck with everything. And
don't make it as long next time.
Cheers, Glenn.